president has been meeting groups, and one of the groups that the president met Friday was the CSOs, the organization of CSOs that have come together, known as a Coalition for Democratic Accountability and Inclusive Governance, the Citizens Coalition. And the Citizens Coalition, among the things they told, the president, led by Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante, was that vulnerable people were really hit hard by the present circumstances, and they needed protection. Vulnerable groups particularly needed protection. But among the things he says is that, he says, look, I don't mind if we try things and fail, but we have to try some new things. So this is where we are. We have to try anything that works. So whether or not it's sustainable, we still have to do it.
Yes, we have to try new things. But the process of thinking that goes into the trying is actually as important, because I think in the midst of a crisis is where you have the biggest opportunity to start thinking long term. And yes, we do, and I personally do commend the minister for what he's trying to do with these PFG markets. The word they used there was a pilot, right? Which is an attempt at trying, or an attempt at solving some of the problems. But the issue of sustainability is key. And as the two speakers have very well alluded to, you're only doing typically one crop cycle a year, and it's all driven by the rain. Number two, even if we have enough, we normally are not buying them and storing them in the lean season, and therefore be able to use it when the needs sort of arise. The third point also in this whole trying process is we must, or to what extent are we ensuring that this doesn't sit just in Accra, but it goes down to the district? So for example, I'd love to see similar stores being set up across all our MMDAs, and we're feeding some of the foods to them. You can go back to our recent, I'm a student of economic history, and if you go back during when we had the food distribution company and things like that, yes. I wasn't born then, but there were these famous kiosks dotted all over the place where people could go and get some of these, grains. But the problem really is it comes down to cost. And this is where there is not enough of these goods.
There's a lot of corruption in that. But people who were heading some of these institutions and the stores were getting
there were all sorts of
over
issues.
the place.
There was all sorts of issues,
right. And
we have to learn from that. But the point is that if the government is bringing in, say, plantain, right, and selling it to Accra relatively cheaper than what the market women are, the government cannot subsume all of that responsibility. So necessarily, you need some sort of market coordination mechanism in there. What is driving the cost of the product or the food is not necessarily about the thing itself, but you have to look at the inputs that's going into it. Fertilizer, and when they harvest the food and you're transporting it, the cost of fuel, right, as well. The man just talked about spending 14,000, now he's spending 60,000 to bring the same quantity of rice from somewhere in the north to Accra. And people generally are rational, so they will price in these things in there. So the attempt to solve it from a sort of demand point of view, yes, commendable, but the structural issues must still be addressed,
okay.
Which is that fundamentally you have to change the way we practice even agriculture in this country. And if we don't take an advantage of this crisis and this opportunity, then our worry or my concern always is that we'll always be diagnosing problems and not providing solutions. But the process of providing the solution is equally as important as the solution itself. Right. Because you need to really think through how you connect those value chains. And ultimately, how you bring down the cost of production such that you have enough food to feed the people in the country.
Right.